Every flight begins with a fall by SilentTeyz. Chapter 3 Bird Instincts. Summary. And that's when it happens. Tommy doesn't register what he's doing. Something just clicks in his throat, and the next thing he knows, he throws his head back and caws. The caw is different from ones he made yesterday. It's more high pitched and shorter, and sounds like screeching ah. Like someone is getting fucking stabbed. It rings in Tommy's ears from the loudness, and the worst thing is, he can't stop. It just keeps coming out of his throat every second, no matter how bad he wants to shut his beak. What the fuck? Tommy wakes up in the darkness. The first thing he notices is the ache in his arm, bone deep, pounding pain that resonates with the throb of muscles in his entire body. There is fog in his brain too, like it's stuffed with cotton or fur, or maybe even feathers. Whatever it is, Tommy can tell one thing for sure. He feels like absolute shit. What had he been doing yesterday for everything to hurt this bad? Tommy groans and raises an arm to rub at his eyes, and slaps himself with the feathers of his wing instead. He is confused for maybe like 5 seconds before the events of the past day come flooding at him at once. Right, still a fucking bird. The realization alone makes him want to fall back asleep and just hope next time he wakes up, he will be in his human body again. Tommy still has no idea what exactly happened when he died in the prison that caused the glitch in the first place. He doesn't understand much about how respawns work either. Only the fact that admins are the only ones that can deal with them. Even then, it's discouraged to mess with code to avoid critical errors and is frowned upon for ethical reasons. Meddling with someone's code without their consent is just as fucked up as human experimentation is. Servers with limited respawns are not unheard of course. Some do it for the thrill. For others, Phil included, it's a lifestyle. The general rule is that members join them willingly and knowing the risks beforehand. Tommy entered the Dsmp at the time when throwing your friend off a cliff could be a fun prank you could both laugh about when they respawned, unharmed in their bed. He never even learned that the rules had changed until he and other original members of L'Manberg died screaming in a box. There is lingering suspicion that Tommy's current situation has something to do with Dream fucking up the server rules all this months ago, but there is no use in puzzling over it now. He did respawn as a crow, and he can't fix the glitch by ignoring it or making a wish at a falling star or some shit. Waking up each day in the wrong body is and will be disappointing, but no point in getting depressed over that. Tommy doesn't sit and cry over his problems. He stands up and deals with them like a man. Or like a crow, his brain helpfully supplies. Fuck you, brain. Tommy doesn't know how long he has been asleep. There is light outside the box. He can tell that much, but from the colour and intensity, it seems to come from lanterns and not from the sun. Great. He hasn't been a crow even for 24 hours, and he had already fucked up his sleep schedule. He's hungry too. His stomach feels like it has decided to digest itself, and based on the intensity of the throbbing, it isn't that far from the truth. Tommy is used to starving for days, if not for weeks, a source of skill developed over the course of his last 2 exiles. But this hunger is impossible to ignore. His stomach begs for food. His head pounds with thoughts about it. Tommy wants bread. He wants his carrots, potatoes, or golden apples, anything, just to fill the emptiness in his body. And that's when it happens. Tommy doesn't register what he's doing. Something just clicks in his throat, and the next thing he knows, he throws his head back and caws. The caw is different from the one he made yesterday. It's more high-pitched and shorter and sounds like screeching ah. Like somebody is getting fucking stabbed. It rings in Tommy's ears from the loudness, and the worst thing is, he can't stop. It just keeps coming out of his throat every second, no matter how bad he wants to shut his beak. What the fuck? Something moves outside of the box. Tommy registers the shuffling of feathers and steps, and then the lid of his box prison starts to move slowly. Oh shit. The sound dies out. Phil beaks into the box, and Tommy jumps away on instinct. His feet get tangled in the blankets, and he crawls his way into the furthest corner, clinging to it with his back and puffing up his feathers. Hey, Phil says. You're up, mate? No, I'm fucking sleepwalking, he calls angrily. Phil doesn't look intimidated. He smirks softly and then just disappears. Not like dissolves in thin air, much like Tommy would want him to, but he moves away from the box, leaving the top slightly open. Tommy doesn't jump into the feeling of relief or hope, and his cautiousness proves to be not unreasonable when Phil appears again, this time with a bowl in one hand and a small spoon in the other, and moves the lid until the top is completely open. I brought you something to eat. Phil scoops up the contents of the bowl into the spoon and lowers it to the crow. And Tommy, who initially perked up at the word eat, jumps away from it in disgust. It's lamb, or fish, or chicken. He is not sure what that is, but it looks like meat mixed with egg yolk. Tommy is not a vegetarian, not in the slightest, although on this server he farmed his own food, mostly carrots, and got to eat meat only when others offered it. Even then, nobody tried to feed it to him raw. He is pretty sure that's poisonous, actually. So no, Tommy is not fucking eating that. Especially not from a spoon, like he is some sort of helpless baby. Don't be like that. You need to eat something. Tommy curled up on himself tighter and clenched his beak. No thank you. He would much rather just starve to death than eat this. He expects Phil to leave him alone at that point. Surely the avian has something more important to do than to torment Tommy. But instead, Phil puts the bowl down, one of his vision out of his vision's reach, and the newly freed hand reaches to his head and forces his beak open. The food slips into Tommy's throat faster than he can spit it back out. He expects his stomach to churn and make him throw it up instantly, but it doesn't taste as terribly as he expected it to. Instead, his brain yells cheerfully, "Food!" and makes him call strangely again, like he did a few minutes ago. Wait, so that's what that sound means? Is he fucking begging for food? Phil brings the spoon down again, and food disappears down Tommy's throat the moment he is close enough to reach it. It's weird at best, and humiliating at worst, but he can't stop until his stomach is finally full. And it feels good, damn it. The ache is gone, and warmth spreads through his body, and he really, really wants to chirp from satisfaction. He doesn't, because that would be beyond the line of shame for today. Phil chuckles, looking at his grumpy form. It wasn't that bad, now was it? Not bad, Tommy hisses, for prison food. Even if Phil doesn't know who he had abducted, not rescued, because Tommy would be absolutely fine there, laying with a broken wing. He is still being held here against his own will. Phil's gone soon after that, and Tommy is stuck in the closed box again. There isn't much to do to distract himself from the tightness in his chest, caused by being confined in the small space. Sleep or think or sleep, or think himself to sleep, or prevent himself from sleeping by thinking. Tommy doesn't know how much time passes before he feels hungry again, but before he even can register the emptiness in his stomach, he is making the weird cause. Tommy can't do anything about it. It feels like control over his own body just slips away from him, and is handed over to something else. It sounds obscure, but it's the truth. Some kind of "you're not you when you're hungry" fucking type of thing. He muses at the possibility of him being possessed, but the more he thinks of it, the more it seems like it's a totally opposite situation. He is thinking normally, he recognizes human speech, and even tries, fruitlessly, moving like one. All in all, the conclusion is that it's Tommy's mind that is possessing a crow's body. It doesn't explain where the sounds are coming from, well, his vocal cords, obviously, but more like why he can't control it. Instincts flashes in his mind in a quick thought, and that is actually not that bad of a guess. Tommy has enough of hybrid friends and acquaintances to know what a hindbrain is, and how instincts tend to fuck them over at the most inconvenient of moments. It would explain a lot of things, like why he is able to make different types of calls and crow calls without learning them beforehand, or why Tommy stumbles away from Phil when the box is opened again. Logically, he knows he shouldn't be in any danger. Tommy dislikes Phil, frankly speaking, but he has never been afraid of him for real before, and they already established that he isn't going to get killed anytime soon. For a bird, however, Phil's a threat by default, as any human is. No logic can argue with the fact that his bones could be snapped with one quick clench of the man's fist. Maybe Tommy's hindbrain is now similar to one of a hybrid, a mix of two worlds. Except that Tommy is not a hybrid and a full-on crow, and he doesn't know whether that means that his instincts are even worse. He and Phil soon establish some sort of routine. Tommy sits in the dark, either sleeping or fiddling with the blaze rod and the blanket out of boredom. He gets hungry in a few hours, that's as precise as he can tell it, and proceeds to tear his throat raw, calling for food. Phil comes to feed him, closes the lid afterwards, and the cycle starts all over again. The initial fear Tommy had towards him starts to fade away just a tiny bit. The hunger is stronger than cautiousness, and Phil's appearances are associated with food, though Tommy still hisses at him when he tries to touch him. It feels great not to be starving, yes. Trapped in a fucking box with literally nothing to do, not so much. On the 9th or 10th feeding time, which had to be the third day of his imprisonment at Phil's house, when the avian leaves the box open for a few seconds whilst putting away the bowl, Tommy executes a plan. The walls of the box are too high for him to just jump out of, and his balance is not that good to try and climb his way with the holes and gaps between the spruce planks. Tommy doesn't know how to summon bird-sized ladders from thin air, so he turns to the only helpful object he has, the blaze rod. A blaze rod is essentially a warm, glowing stick, which would make for a fine lightsaber, but Tommy's more interested in the fact that it can be used as a flat, impromptu staircase. For a thing so tall in comparison with Tommy, the rod is fairly light, which makes sense, since these things are meant to levitate around the blazes. He leans in against the wall of the box and hurriedly climbs to the top, and even manages to grab it with his beak the last moment before Phil returns from the kitchen. How did you? He looks surprised, paused in the doorway, even. Yeah, bitch. Don't come any closer, because he has a weapon now. Tommy twists his head, still holding onto the rod. It was meant to be a threatening swing, but instead, the shift of balance sends him falling from the top. He doesn't even have the time to squeak. Instead of hitting the floor harshly, however, he ends up in Phil's hands. The avian lunged forward just in time to catch him mid-air. Careful, mate, he said, chuckling. You're quite clumsy for a bird. His smile is kind. His laugh is as warm as are the hands around him. Phil makes cooing sounds at him, like yesterday, and it's the stupid bird brain instincts that make him press and relax into the touch. Tommy wants to chirp back. And you're quite short for a human. He snarled instead. Alas, high jokes and insults are not relevant when he himself is the size of a baseball. Tommy pecks at Phil's fingers, and the fucker doesn't even win it once. just calmly puts him down on the floor, which is a critical mistake on his behalf because Tommy takes the opportunity and bolts. Well, maybe Phil did think this through. The doors closed, both the front one and the other leading to the balcony. Tommy looks in between them and decides that the next best thing would be to hide behind an ender chest. It's instantly colder here, now that Tommy is clinging to a wall and there is Everwinter tundra out on the other side. At least it's not that dusty. He doesn't see any spiderwebs either. You sure that's the best spot you could have picked? Phil says, like he had expected Tommy to try and hide on the first opportunity. Fuck off, Tommy calls, and Phil surprisingly does. For the next 10 minutes, the avian walks around the room, moving something, and curiosity gets the best of Tommy, so he carefully peeks out from his niche. The fucking box is there again, but it's toppled over to the side in a way that the top is now a sort of open entrance. Turn towards him welcomingly. The blanket is in there too, folded in a way that it looks like a soft nest, something that is certainly more comfortable than hiding behind furniture. Tommy's head flickers in all directions, whilst he is looking for Phil, and the man is found shuffling with something on a crafting table, with his back turned to him. Tommy weighs his choice for about a minute before deciding that freezing his ass off is not worth the elusive feeling of safety. If the avian would want to get him out of there, he could just move the inner chest slightly. When Phil turns to face Tommy, he is already sitting curled up in the blanket nest. The avian kneels in front of him, albeit keeping a distance, and when the crow retreats backwards, he purrs at him comfortingly. Reluctantly, Tommy chirps back. Okay, end of chapter 3. That was chapter 3, right? Yeah. It's cute. Of course he's gonna make a break for it. The instincts, that must be like mildly terrifying. Like the first time it happens, you're just chilling. Like, I've dealt with this before. Oh my god, why am I screaming? Why am I screaming? I don't know why, but that reminded me of the Bird song. Not that I know who made that song, I'll try and find it. But yeah, just the way, like the whole tried to stop and it didn't work and all that. Oh, it's not working with me. I can't spell apparently. Yeah, I can't tell you. I'll find it eventually. Not today though, apparently. You guys do not get to know about the Bird song. But yeah, that was interesting. I like this series. It's fun. I love Bird. Just trying to be Bird. It's like really, like he's just trying to help this random child that he found. Like Phil's just trying to help this random fledgling he found on the ground. It's like, oh no, a baby bird with a broken wing. Let me look after you. And the bird is like, fuck you, fuck you. Ah, Gremlin. Yeah, we love that. Sorry, I'm a little bit sick. I don't know why I'm recording. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me what you thought about it in the comments. Tell me what you think is going to happen next, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.